Hello everyone, welcome to our TV show Unknown History. It's Basma Izzat, and we have in the studio our usually guest, Mr. Ayhan Ujjampit. He is a researcher in historical events. Actually, we have been talking about in previous episodes about unknown history, unknown people maybe in the history. Not so much has been told about those people. You can watch our previous episodes in YouTube channel, Natural TV channel. Now we in the previous episode, in the last episode last week, we mentioned that we are going to talk about women in historical events. So we have today to talk about from an Islamic perspective. We have Rumeisa. She is one of sahabes in Prophet Muhammad's period. So let me thank you to having you today in our program, Mr. Ayhan.
You're welcome. Thank you for your kind invitation, really.
Thank you.
I really enjoy these programs.
Yeah, we too. We hope you too, people enjoy our topics. So what we have today, we have talk about let's talk about first how Islam looks to women.
Yeah, normally the Islam looks to woman as mother, as object for revolutionary, really. The Prophet Muhammad says the paradise is underneath of the mother's feet, and because mothers are giving life, and mothers are teachers first, and they are our mother when we were born, and we are getting married, and they are our spouse, side by the man, and every successful man has got a successful wife.
Yes.
And also
or a woman in his life, maybe his mother, his sister. Yes.
And also on the man's perspective, I tell you, and also when we get older, when very old, and our daughters are
take care of us.
Our daughters are how can I say, they take care of us, and they help us very much with their woman and the mother heart, really. So the woman in Islam is, so to understand this very well, the first Muslim was a woman. Hazrat Hatidja was a first woman. And also when we look at the life of Jesus Christ, we can call also the Mary. There is big Mary behind of Jesus Christ. Yes, she is the teacher. She is the educating person. Jesus Christ up, at that age.
Yes. And God chose women to have this.
Yes,
role.
Of course. And the woman in Arabic language comes from the mother comes from ummu in Turkish. We say also ummu. Ummu is the source of ummah, is the community
or nation.
Yes, and ummu is the source of umman, is the oceans, the seas, because the mothers are very generous. They are helping. They feel every person is like the daughter or son of any woman, and they have got great empathy to help each other. And Rumeisa is at the top of this, really. We are going to talk.
Yeah, Rumeisa is not a very well-known person in history. Some people called her Salim's mother. Sulaim in Turkish.
Yes.
So she is a role model, like a role model. She is a very important person.
I wish there was there was the film of her life, because then she's going to show everyone how can a woman be very revolutionary. Those days, the educated Muslim woman, each of them were like her, but her story is very interesting.
Let's talk about her life first.
Yes, she was in Medina, and she was left by her husband because her husband didn't convert to Islam, and he was very angry with his wife because of converting Islam, and then he left his wife and he's gone. When her husband left her, she became a widow woman, a divorced woman, and she was trying to sell something in the bazaar in Medina. Every time she was coming to bazaar and trying to sell something.
Bazaar like market?
Yeah, market. And she was trying to manage her life and her kids. And in the bazaar, suddenly Abu Talha is the richest man in Medina. Saw her, and he fell in love with her.
She was very beautiful.
She was very beautiful, really. And the Abu Talha didn't get married up to that time. And then he went to bazaar a few times to see her. And suddenly then he decided to offer her to get married. And he was quite sure that she was going to say yes, because he was handsome, he was strong, he was rich, he was one of the popular men in Medina those days, but he was not Muslim. And no, he wasn't Muslim. And he offered Rumeisa to get married. And Rumeisa said no, without thinking. He was very surprised. And he was shocked because of this unexpected answer which came from her. And he went home and he started thinking why he said no, she refused me and she didn't want to get married with me. He asked himself these questions on his mind. But he didn't know that the rule in Islam about the marriage of the woman. And
women cannot marry non-Muslims.
Pagan man. And anyway, another day he went to bazaar again. He asked Rumeisa, why you don't want to marry me? I'm the richest man in Medina and the handsome. I don't think that I'm an ugly man. She said, you are quite handsome person and the rich. Yes, that's right. But I can't marry you because you're not Muslim and you're pagan. You're worshipping the dirty idols. And he was surprised about this being refused just because of the faith. And he started observing Islam, what sort of religion it is. It's a new religion in Medina, but he was not interested in religions. Islam also, he didn't care of learning Islam, but he started reading Quran verses. He liked it really very much. And he converted to Islam. And some weeks later, he went again. He said, Rumeisa, I converted to Islam, but not because of getting married with you, not because of loving you. I converted Islam just because of the teaching of Islam. I found it very reasonable. That's why I got married. That's why I converted Islam. And she said, okay, now. If you converted Islam, we can get married. Anyway, well, they got married, and they were very rich at the beginning. But Rumeisa always requested him to give his money and the products of in the field to support Islam, to orphans mostly, orphans of Medina, because there were a lot of poor people in Medina. And Abu Talha was the richest man in Medina, but he became the poorest man in the end. And also, someday, Prophet Muhammad and his friends visited him and her house to eat and to talk, to meet. And Rumeisa didn't have anything to cook. And Abu Talha requested their neighbor to give lamb to cook, and they didn't have anything because anyway they cooked and everyone has eaten, and while they were going, suddenly Prophet Muhammad, after he said goodbye, and Gabriel came in Quran, a verse says, God knows what they sacrificed. God knows what they have given, even if they were in need, but they shared everything, and they had nothing, and they never revealed this because of their honor.
Wow.
And God never says name, of course, but directly here this kind of words were indicating Rumeisa and her husband. They were very surprised. God knew what they were doing and seeing, and they were very happy hearing this. In this verse in Quran, addressing Rumeisa and her husband, really. And Abu Talha started working as a worker in Taif.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, he was looking for a job anywhere, and he found a job in Taif, a very far place from Medina, about 500 kilometers. He had to go, but his wife was pregnant and gave birth, and he came and went again, but this time the child was ill, but his mind was at home and always thinking his child at home, about 1-2 years old. And he went and came back a few weeks later, or months later, because it takes time to go there.
Yes.
And coming back.
It's far away.
No, there was no car those days. Anyway, when he came home, he brought a present for his son. And but he didn't give this present. This detail is very important. And he decided to give it later, because Rumeisa said, "Don't disturb.
He's
sleeping now."
Yeah.
"How is he?" He said. "He's better now. He's in a very good position at the moment," she says. He didn't understand what she meant, because he missed his wife, wanted to be together with his wife. They were together in the morning time before the azan started, morning time prayer. He got shower and he wanted to give the present to the baby, son. In his room he went, but when he touched his son, he was cold, because he died. He died one day.
He died before he came.
Before he came, yeah, he died before he came.
And she never told him.
Yeah, she never told, and he was very sad. He started crying, and but Rumeisa was not crying. Abu Talha
was
was
very
crying.
brave person.
Rumeisa didn't cry because she knew that the other world also, because when we die, this world is on a temporary place to live. And Rumeisa, very revolutionist, she had very big faith in her heart, and she never thought about this life. She was very revolutionary, and she strongly believed in the Lord of the universe, and a child, if he died, he was going to go to the God's place, a better place, and she was quite sure about this, a big faith. But Abu Talha was not like that. He was not as strong as Rumeisa.
Yeah, we are persons, and
not
also, all of us have this courage.
Everyone is not the same, but Rumeisa was a very revolutionist.
Yeah.
She was very strong, she unbelievably strong, and very serious woman. And in that night, Prophet Muhammad was in the morning prayer, and Abu Talha went to morning prayer also. After the prayer, he spoke to Prophet Muhammad, his sadness. He told everything what he lived, and he also a little bit criticized Rumeisa, not telling this.
He couldn't understand her philosophy.
Of course. And he criticized this because Rumeisa had good education about that. It was a little bit far from Abu Talha. And Abu Talha was sad and crying nearby the Prophet Muhammad. And Gabriel came again and said, Rumeisa is pregnant. Again. And Gabriel said they're going to have a wonderful child, and that child is one of the biggest scholar of Islam, Anas Bin Maliq.
Wow.
Anas Bin Maliq is one of the greatest scholars.
Famous alim.
Yes, of course, and his mother is this kind of mother. And so we can understand this kind of alim comes from that kind of woman.
That's
so
right.
we can see this kind of teaching of wonderful woman in Christianity also. The Elizabeth is the wife of Zachariah, and the Zachariah wanted a son in his life, and this was
so
in
old.
his. He was very old, and this was in his heart, really, having a son for helping for his Christianity, also the same as Islam, we can say. Anyway, when he saw Mary one day, she was eating from. She said he asked, "Mary, how did you get this food?" She said, "From the Lord of the universe." He was very surprised, and suddenly his heart said, "Oh my Lord, please give me a son who is going to support my mission," he said.
And the same message.
And Gabriel said, "Zachariah, you will have a son, and your wife is pregnant." This time Zachariah said, "How possible? I'm very old." Because he wants something from his heart, but his mind questioning.
Yes,
and
right.
Gabriel said, "If God wants, the miracles can happen." And then Zachariah's son was John the Baptist. Is a famous person in Christianity and also in Islam. His name is written in Quran as Yahya. And he helped Jesus Christ as long as he lived. Unfortunately, he became also shaheed. He was killed in Istanbul.
He died very young.
Yeah, and his hand, I saw in a museum in Istanbul.
Really?
His right hand, as far I remember, in Istanbul museum.
Is it real?
Yeah, it's writing John the Baptist hand. Is coming from the area of Jerusalem, and
who bring this?
It's not important his hand or not. The most important thing is he sacrificed himself for the faith, for the Lord of the universe. Not only him, also Jesus Christ also was sacrificed, and he lost his life on the way of faith, on the way of truth. And on the way of love, we must emphasize this really. And Elizabeth, when he gave this birth, of course, the back of John, there was big Elizabeth with her morality, with her teaching, and he became John the Baptist because of the teaching of Elizabeth. And Jesus Christ became Jesus Christ because of the Maryam and her teachings. And we must emphasize this. Any mission, any revolution, any changing can't be without woman, because woman is the generator of the society. We must.
It doesn't matter your
religious.
is
exactly. So African brothers and sisters, they have to think that the women have to be educated, and they must have good education to teach and to grow up their kids, to make them useful for the society, useful for the country, for humanity and for Lord of the universe. So education is important for women.
We have to give a chance to women in all over the world.
The woman education is much more important than man education, because if a woman has got education, she can start teaching baby and husband when she married. She's going to be a very good teacher, especially if a woman becomes a mother. She's a natural teacher.
Yes.
And sometimes they ask me why there are no woman prophets or messages.
We can ask you this. We also
this
We
is,
have already asked this question before.
yeah, and
But we just mentioned in the
yeah,
brief.
but the main reason is every woman is like, every mother is like a prophet, because every mother
Have a message.
has got really message, and also the mother heart is sharing something without expecting anything. This is the typical mission. This is the typical
Unconditional.
wonderful the summary of being ummah, being community. And otherwise today the satanic Illuminati, the trying to abuse women. They are taking the woman away from being a mother, really. So we must be careful about this. The woman is also mother. We must respect mother. But today the capitalism is using woman as a sex object, and this cannot be accepted, really. The woman is a woman is our mother, our spouse, our daughter. We must see like this woman, and otherwise the things are going to get worse in the society. And so everyone is a man has to respect a woman. She is someone's daughter or someone's mother. In these eyes, then everything is going to be okay in the society.
We have a poet in Egypt called the poetry said, if women are a school, it's like a school. If you prepared very well, you prepared a very powerful society.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That is why Atatürk in our society in Turkey, unfortunately, traditional Islamic understanding, those days people were saying, oh, women going to school, oh, what are they going to do in the school? They must stay at home, they were saying. But when their wife is pregnant, they were looking for a woman doctor.
Right.
And they're looking for a woman, a female nurse.
Yes.
And this is hypocrisy. And so then the Turkish women started having good positions in Turkey, and the first fighting combat pilot in the world is a Turkish woman, Sabiha Gökçen. Her name was given to an airport in Istanbul,
yes,
in Asian part of Istanbul. And Sabiha Gökçen was a successful pilot, and Turkey had a lot of women successful scientists
and
in our country.
And a lot of things.
They helped our society to development, and an African woman can do the same thing.
Right.
Doesn't matter Christian or Muslim, they have to work together, shoulder to shoulder, side by side,
right,
and against every kind of imperialism they can stand as a revolutionary like Rumeisa, and thinking their society first, and they asking themselves, what can I do for my society and for my nation, for my community, for our continent, Africa. And if Africa is going to develop, it is going to develop with the
you have to start
African
from
woman.
Educating her.
This is not going to be negotiated, really. This is 100% truth. And the Rumeisa, we talked to Rumeisa and Elizabeth in the same parallel way, just because of emphasizing today's position, and these historical personalities, unknown historical personalities, are going to enlighten the way of Africa as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, thank you so much for this valuable information keep giving to us. But we have commercial break, small commercial break. After this, we come back to you and continue our topics. Stay with us. Hello again. We come back from the commercial break. We have been talking about women in history and the role of women in the world and how it's more important. We have to give it more importance. Now we have to discuss a new program, a new topic, because we are in Ankara and we are broadcasting from Ankara. We are going to talk about the Galatians or Galatians. Mr. Rayhan have a perspective of Galatians. He is going to talk about. He is going to tell us about Galatians. He said it's the old name of Ankara. Mr. Rayhan, could you please tell us more about this unknown things about Ankara?
The Ankara name comes from Ansira. Ansira is a Celtic word, and in English language there's a word anchor. Anchor comes from these words Ansira. That means stopping areas, to stop, staying, the last station. And when the Celts came from Europe, they made a civilization in central Anatolia, and they built a state, Galatians. It's also mentioned in Bible as Galatians, and they were speaking Gaelic as a language which is very close to Irish and also Scottish, because the Galatians are the ancestors of also Celtic people, and they had two tribes. One of them was Technosax. Technosax came to Ankara, and they established Ansira, and they built Ankara Castle of Ankara. If African brothers, sisters, if they come to Turkey, I recommend them to come to Ankara and to visit Ankara Castle, and they will see it's the same, very similar castle to
Ankara Castle. It's in Ulus. It's
at the very top.
It's a very old
very
city.
old, very at the top of the city, and they can see it, they can visit it. It's a very beautiful castle.
Yes,
really.
It's amazing.
And today the Galatians in Ankara, they are living mostly in Kızılcahamam and Çamlıdere area, and also some rural places in Çankırı, in the north part of Ankara. And when we look at their faces and their specialties, they are blonde, red-haired, colored-eyed, very tall, and freckles on the face, really. And I visited these places, Kızılcahamam and Çamlıdere, especially in Çankırı city, Boyalca, it's called as Esentepe as well. I went that area, and I could see the race of Galatians, the Celtic specialties. And some of them, they knew their roots coming from Central Europe. And when we look at their homes, their homes look like Central European home style, really. Yes, very durable against the earthquake also. And in our language in Turkey, some places such as Gallipoli, Gelibolu name comes from Gallipolis. Gallipolis means in Greek city of Celts in the Dardanelles, that area, because they came from Europe passing the straits of Bosphorus and also Çanakkale.
There is a movie called Gallipoli.
Yeah.
Talk about Çanakkale battle.
Yeah, it's right? About Gallipoli Çanakkale battle, but the Turkish in Istanbul there is an area is Galata.
In Istanbul, yes, Galata Tower.
Galata Tower, and also, but the Galata Tower was made by Italians because in Istanbul there were Latins also those days, not only Greeks but also Latins they were living. And the Latins built that Galata Tower.
This beautiful
its
tower.
Its name was Tower of Jesus a long time ago. Yeah, and
why?
They devoted it for Jesus. Anyway, in that area also there's Galata, but the first inhabitants of that area were Galatians. When they came from Central Europe, they settled there some of them stayed there, and some went to central Anatolia. But before Anatolia, they went to western part of Anatolia. They fought with Greeks, but they lost the war between Greeks and Galatians, and the Greeks drawn back them to Ankara area, in this area, and they built a civilization in this area. The Ankara Castle is one of them, of course. Today in Ankara and also in Turkish language we have some Galatian words. One of them is, for example, alçı. Is a word used by building home. It's also ayak. Ne ayaksın sen? When we use it, but not this ayak. This kind of ayak is food, but also ayak another ayak. Another ayak is the same word with the Celtic. It's the same meaning. It's kind of trick. And also hoist. You know, when a dog comes, we say in Turkish language hoşt.
Yes.
We made it S, and they say also in this Galatian language hoşt. To keep the dog away from them. It's sounding very hardly. And also potuk. Potuk is in Old Turkish is the newborn camel.
Really?
But this is a little bit slided. The meaning is calf in Celtic language. Calf, potuk. There are some potuk surnames in central Turkey today. There are 200 words like this in Turkish language come from Celtic language. Unfortunately, there was no good observation over Celtic.
It should be put in dictionary.
Yeah, and they didn't lose their culture and the language.
Identity.
Long time, till Turks came to Anatolia. When Turks came to Anatolia 1071 in the Battle of Manzikert, and there was one man who came from Central Europe. His name was Russell de Belleval. Russell de Belleval, he came to Turkey to help Byzantine army, the East Romans, to defend Byzantine Empire against the Turks. While he was coming from Ankara, he saw people speaking the same language. What he was saying, he understood them. They understood Russell de Belleval because Russell de Belleval was from France, Celtic area, because in France there is Brittany.
He didn't expect to find people who talk the same language in another
because
place.
it's very far area.
Yes.
And he was surprised. He was also noble in his
country.
in his country, in France, in the Celtic Brittany area. And then after the war lost, he didn't go back to France. He stayed in Ankara, and he became the king of Galatians in Ankara. And he revolted against Byzantine Empire. He made his country bigger. And it's interesting, he took a lot of land from Byzantine Empire, and he declared his independence in the central Anatolia, really. And it is also strange, Byzantine Empire requested Turks to help to kill Russell de Belleval this time, because Russell de Belleval and his country, Galatians, was a big threat to Byzantine Empire. And then the Turks killed him in Nicomedia, gave his dead body to Byzantine Empire, but Turks got all over the Galatian areas. And the Galatians, they were Christians, but they converted Islam after Turkish conquest. And today, some of them, they know their roots really. And that's why today, after the observation, 16% of Turkish DNA is Celtic DNA.
Really?
Yeah, 16%. In whole Turkey has got 16%. Galatian Celtic DNA they have.
Wow.
So this is showing that the race is not important. The having heart is important. The being Turk doesn't belong to blood.
As we said about Musa the Sudanese, you remember?
Yeah, of course. Like
in Çanakkale battle.
Exactly.
And his role in the World War.
So he came from Sudan and he helped Turkey very much.
He is Turk. Yeah, it's like he's Turk.
Also, there was Faisal, the Indian from Pakistan. He came to Çanakkale War and he stayed in Turkey as an imam, and he lived in Turkey.
Who is this?
His name is Faisal. He came with the British Army to fight against Turks, but he heard the azan calling for prayer, and he and his friends joined the Turkish Ottoman troops.
Wow.
And he stayed in Turkey, and there are some Indian origin Turks also, Pakistani origin Turks. Not very many, but there are.
We have mentioned before in previous episode about Anatolia. Anatolia. It's Anadolu in Turkish.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
That's mean
where the sun Anadolu is a Turkish, and like Istanbul name comes from Constantinopolis. Because the Turks couldn't say Constantinopolis, and they said Constantopol. Constantopoli. Is someday some period they said also Islambol. Islambol means mostly Islamic or something, but they didn't say also this one. And finally they decided Istanbul. And today the Edirne, for instance, is a city in the European part of Turkey. The name comes from Hadrianopolis, because the city was built for Hadrianus, is the Roman king. And the name of Edirne, because we couldn't say Hadrianopolis, Adrianopol, Edirne.
It's more easy to say.
Yeah, it's easy. For example, there is an Erikli. Erikli is a Turkish town name. Normally, its name was Heraklia, because the Turkish saying it changed. For instance, Erzurum. Erzurum is a city in the eastern part of Turkey. It comes from Arz-rum. Arz-rum means earth of Rome.
Wow.
Yeah.
So every government in Turkey its name has a root. No, it's not a normal
exactly.
name. Like Cappadocia, I think.
Cappadocia, we still say the same.
Romania.
Tarsus is the same name since Roman Empire. Antakya is the same name. We say also Hatay, but Antakya, everyone knows where is Antakya. And the city Malatya. When some countries, in Latin we hear is Ia. Ia stands like Germania. It's like Italia.
This suffix.
Yeah, this ends is Latin. We understand that city, if it is ending with Sakaria, is coming from Latin words. Sakaria, Malatya, Galatia, Antalya, Adana is Antakya is the same.
Cappadocia is the same.
Cappadocia is one of them.
Same. Huh.
Yeah, it's coming from Latin words.
I heard that Cappadocia means a city of horses.
Still?
City of horses.
Horses, yeah.
That's right?
I don't know about that. I don't have any research about that. But what I went to Cappadocia, and I saw wonderful places, because the first Christians were being killed. First Christians were being killed by the Caesar, and they built a city underground.
Inside the cave, inside the mountains.
Inside the mountains.
It's amazing.
And
now it's like hotels.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful area, and also that area is the root of Saint George. It's coming from Christian history. And I recommend the African brothers to see and to discover also Cappadocia. It's a nice place.
It's amazing, especially in winter. It's become all of it like white. And if you want to stay in a hotel, it's inside this mountain. It's amazing. It's also a church and worship places inside caves.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And they were hiding themselves because of the soldiers of Caesar.
Yes.
Caesar forced them to believe in planets. The Greeks, they believed in the gods, many gods, and it turned to planets in Latin Empire. Jupiter, Neptune, Mars, for instance. They were worshipping planets, really. It's interesting, but it's also this kind of faith has got a root in Edessa, because there was a group of people believing astrology and worshipping the planets.
Actually, it has the same names, planets and god and goddess in Romanian.
Yeah. For instance, normally the Neptune
Yes.
is Poseidon.
Yes.
In Greek. In the Greek mythology, it's Poseidon. In Latin is Neptune, we see.
Venus is the goddess of beauty.
Yeah, beauty.
And it's a planet too.
Exactly, the same. And we can find this in Greek mythology.
In Greek. Greek-Romanian deal.
There is one opposition in between Greek and also Latin faith. But the astrology, we also talked about this. It cannot be, how can I say, a religion or worshipping the planets. It's useless because they are a creature of the Lord of the
God,
universe. Yes. And it's nonsense.
Yeah. It's a very valuable information. Yeah, thank you so much for giving us
You're welcome.
This important things. Maybe some people don't know a lot about it. So unfortunately, we are out of time. But people, you can send to us your questions. What do you think next episode will be about? What do you think we are going to talk? What do you want us to talk about? Actually, unknown historical events or unknown historical information, maybe, or maybe a character, if you want. Thank you for being with us today. It was amazing. We hope you enjoy this new show. Keep watching us. See you next week, inshallah.